Good evening. My name is Terrence Hoyt. Welcome to the Board of Fire Commissioners, Newcastle Fire District Number 1 regular meeting. Today is Thursday, September 9th, 2021. It's approximately 7:15. We're starting a little late because we just had our budget work session. We're located at 491 King Street in Chappaqua, New York. I'm going to call the meeting to order at this time. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Murphy, if you would, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If everyone would just take a seat. With no objection from the entire board, I would like to read a statement on the eve of September 11th. On Saturday, September 11, 2021, our district, community, and nation will commemorate the 20th anniversary of the tragic events of September 11, 2001. We remember and we vow never to forget the senseless loss of our friends, neighbors, and countrymen. We watched in awe as first responders ran towards the chaos, many never to return. We as a community and nation united as one, and we responded as one, including Chappaqa's bravest. The Chappaqua Fire Department was mobilized in direct support of FDNY 44 truck and remained on station for an extended period of time. The all-volunteer Chappaqua Fire Department during this period demonstrated great dedication, skill, professionalism, devotion to duty, and compassion towards their FDNY brothers and sisters. We thank and support all of our allied law enforcement, fire service, EMS, emergency management, security professionals, and other sectors and enterprises that have permitted us all to live in a safe and secure community and country while under the constant threat of subsequent attacks by a most determined and capable enemy. We honor the sacrifices of our armed forces who took the fight to the enemy. Thousands were killed in action or died as a result of service-connected injuries. Tens of thousands more were wounded, scarred, disabled, or broken for life. We remember and vow never to forget September 11, 2001. May God bless our community and the United States of America. Thank you all. Everyone's in attendance. Just statement on with respect to public comment. We have that at the end of the meeting. It permits us to conduct the business of the district, permits visitors to get a good idea of how our business is conducted here. We would ask that if there is comment, you keep it to approximately 3 minutes. And it's not a time to ask questions of the board, but to give us your comments for consideration at another time, not necessarily here. Having said that, I'm just going to jump into some things. Official correspondence. We have 2 emails from Lynn Lambert, one on August 12th, and then another one with respect to, the first one was with respect to the Community Liaison Committee, and then a second email on September 7th with respect to Zoom. We sent an email to Jill Shapiro with respect to the vehicle that was damaged. If our insurance company handles that claim, we will not use the FEMA emergency funds through the county or the state. We have received an email from fiscal advisors, our bond counsel, and they've given us some decent metrics that we need to achieve before we move forward with any potential bond or referendum, I should say. And then finally, we received communication from Westchester County OEM with respect to reporting any damaged infrastructure, facilities, vehicles, and that's what we did with Joe Shapiro. Chief, you're up. Chief's report.
Again, Chief Maitland sends his regrets. So a couple of things under new business. We will be having open house this year. Primarily everything will be outside on October 2nd. We're going to run it from about 9 a.m. till noon. It's a little different hours than in the past. We will be doing our usual extrication demonstration, probably try to get some hands-on use of fire extinguishers for residents. I do have to confirm if we're going to have the smoke trailer that we usually use with the younger participants. We'd like to ask the board's permission. The department membership has kicked around the idea of an Oktoberfest type event. We've tentatively looked at October 30th as a date we'd like to hold this, kind of as a community outreach. We haven't done our pancake breakfast or our spaghetti supper in quite a number of years. And we came as a decision as a group not to do this as a fundraiser, but that the department, the membership of the department would sponsor this event to just draw the community in. The plan is we've got some arrangements for 3 or 4 bounce castles, some bratwurst. We're making arrangements for hot dogs and hamburgers as well. We would do it through the course of the afternoon. One of the other items that we had discussed was speaking with Quaker Hill and setting up a beer garden section for them. Beer would be their responsibility. They would take care of proofing people, collecting funds for that. Any of the stuff that we do outside of that would be free of charge to the public. And the Quaker Hill portion of it, we're kind of mirroring what they had done when they opened up Center Street to the town for folks for that one evening. So we'd like to ask the board's permission to proceed with it. If we would be able to use the parking lot the field next door before any construction were to ever occur, set up the bounce castles on it, and we would just run electricity from the building. Plus, we've got 2 portable generators, which would also help keep our expenses down for the event.
I would entertain a motion for that.
I'd like to make a motion to approve that. Sounds very good to me.
Do I have a second on that?
I would second it as long as we're comfortable with any insurance liabilities.
Discussion on insurance, Chris?
Yeah, we just simply get a rider adding us as an additional insurance for the event. The amount of, $1 million, something like that. It won't cost them, really just for Quaker Hill, not for us. Because I don't think we do a rider for open house or anything like that.
I don't believe we do, but I don't know if you need to consider something for, because we're going to have the bounce castles,
I can tell you
that type of thing.
It would be nominal expense.
And one caveat to that, everything that we're planning is designed so that we can pull the plug at the last minute and not incur any expenses, because if anything happens with COVID or anything rears its ugly head, we don't want to be in a position where we're on the hook financially for anything. We're trying to get as much donated as we can with regards to food, but the companies have all agreed that they're going to financially support this.
And is the district invited to participate?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
So
For a nominal fee, you can come and
So I see this as a great thing too. I think any community outreach is a home run these days. So we have a motion. I think we had a second, considering that was addressed. All in favor? Aye. 5.
Great. And Chris, we'll just keep coordinating with you regarding insurance, what we need, and anything beyond that, just to make sure we're on the same page as we get closer.
Excellent.
How are you? 3 items looking. Yep. Sorry.
Paul.
Just real quick, how are you going to publicize this?
Every way that we can. I'm not being facetious,
No,
but I
just
mean,
asking.
we've gotten pretty good over the years of between flyers in stores, signs in stores, word of mouth, getting it posted.
We can partner with Newscastle. They can get it on the
Definitely.
newsletter.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
guys, and also too, since open house is a month prior, very similar how we used to publicize the pancake breakfast at the egg hunt. Same kind of thing. We'll just blast it out to everybody and their brother, come and have fun type of a thing. And we're staging bounce castles so that we've got one for smaller kids, 2 set up for tweens, and then an older, more of an obstacle type course for older kids or crazy adults.
Like
Pardon?
Like Owen?
I will refrain from any comment. A couple of questions, just checking on the status of Rescue 23, Engine 144, and the tower ladder. But I'm sure you'll cover that in your
report, Dwight, so we won't have to do, excuse me, Commissioner. Old business, is there an update on the purchase of the utility, but that kind of falls with the other two? We have no membership additions or subtractions this month. Chief's expenses for the month of $357.64. We had 34 alarms for the month of August. I mentioned open house as a future date of October 2nd. Physicals will be October 10th. That's again, as we discussed during the budget session, to reset the clock on our annual requirement.
You guys gonna get flu shots too? You said.
Definitely getting flu shots.
Excellent.
The part that's up in the air is going to be the COVID booster.
Right.
And the Oktoberfest being on October 30th.
Right. I just have one, when you're done, let me know, I just have one.
Yeah, that's it. And then attached to the report, which you'll receive electronically, is the breakdown of the calls for the month of August.
Okay, just talk, just for a moment, because I know you're busy, you got a drill going on right now. Talk to us about the number of calls during the remnants of Ida that hit New York State, just generally.
Yeah, we had a total of 14 calls within about a 20-hour period. Majority of them were requests from residents if we could come pump their basements out. Unfortunately, that's not something that we're able to provide. Even in cases where there's a hazard, for instance, if we had to get Con Edison to kill the power to someone's house because we could not safely traverse the water to stand and shut a circuit panel off. We enacted our own emergency center. Commissioner Smith was actually our radio comms expert, and we were self-dispatching for many of the calls that came in, and that progressed through the next day when we had firefighters standing by here at the firehouse to respond to anything that came up post-storm once people woke up and realized their basement was flooded.
So just a follow-on question, Chris, and then you go. So we reduced the use of the siren by, what, 13 calls, 12 calls, 10 calls?
Primarily, all the calls were the middle of the night, so there really weren't, the siren wasn't going off.
After the sunset hour.
Gotcha.
I believe the first call that we got was where we ran into the issue with the rescue was about 10:30 that night. So that may have triggered the alarm for the first call, but then after that, because what ends up happening when we're self-dispatching, we have a computer screen where the county is pushing the calls to us.
Right.
And it's up to us at that point to then either page out our membership, but we had enacted, as soon as Dwight got to the firehouse, we called in members to stand by in quarters. Some of them couldn't get across the parkway, but we had enough of crew for 2 apparatus, which was sufficient for if we needed, and because Mount Kisco and Pleasantville were both on this side of the parkway, we were confident we had their backup if we needed it. And I got spoken to Millwood, they responded to the 2 calls we had that were on the west side of the parkway because we couldn't get there.
Excellent. Great work by the entire department over that
Yep, they
24
really
hours.
rose, as they always do, but they really, with storms, seems to be our forte.
So 60 control wasn't toning you out at all?
What they end up doing, when they go into emergency dispatch mode, they're only dispatching kind of what we refer to as smoke or better. So if a call comes in through 911, that's smoke or fire or an actual car accident, they would dispatch. For water in the basement, that type of stuff, or even when we have storms with wires down, they won't dispatch us for that. They will push the call out to this electronic medium that we then monitor and do our own dispatching.
So
which
they're doing triage?
Pretty much.
Okay.
And then, I mean, by dispatching ourselves, pretty much Dwight opens the radio room door and yells to me, and we, gather up the troops and figure out what we're doing.
Very sophisticated.
It really is, and it works well.
One final, tell us about the events Saturday morning.
Yes. So we've, in the past, the 9/11 service has always been in the evening afternoon. We're tying it this year as close as we can to when the towers both fell. We will start with a procession up the path to the memorial at 9:30 sharp. There will be Girl Scouts that will hand each of the emergency service personnel a flower, which will be placed on the memorial as we circle around it. Very few speeches this year. We have a retired Chief Dunn from FDNY will be speaking. I believe Jeremy Saland will be saying a few words. At the approximate time each of the towers fell, we're going to have ex-Chief Ray Lips from Millwood, who was the chief in Millwood at the time, and ex-Chief Charlie Bergstrom, who was the Chappaqua chief, do the bell service where we ring the bell 5 times in 5 sets for responding to the last call is kind of how they refer to it. We do a presentation of the wreaths, and then we will process out of the park. So it's at Gedney Park at 9:30. Everyone is welcome and encouraged to come. It's a very important anniversary, and it's very important to not just the members of the fire service, but we did lose 4 of our neighbors in the tragic event, so to commemorate them in this proper manner. And if you haven't seen on Facebook, the local Boy Scout troop has placed, I don't know the quantity of flags, it's definitely more than the 343 first responders, but on the hillside next to the memorial, it's an awe-inspiring sight. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and if you get an opportunity to stop by, if you can't respond to the service, please stop at the memorial, say your piece, and just take a look at the nice work that the Scouts have done.
Thank you, Chief. You're free to go.
Thank you. I'm going to pause here and take a breath for a little bit.
There you go. So we'll move on. Anything else, Chief? Anything
That's
else?
all that we have.
Anything else for the Chief? Excellent.
Oh, make a motion, we reimburse the chief. for-
Oh, of course. I entertain a motion, please.
I just made it.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5.
One last item.
Yes.
Chief, I just noticed that one of the other commissioners has an ID badge. Could you ask the chief in charge of printing those badges? I think there's 2 of us at least that don't have current badges, 3 of us, I'm sorry. So is that, I'm not badge, I mean ID cards.
It's 5 that don't have.
Okay.
Right, because there aren't any commissioner IDs per se. So
We'll take that off.
I can show you mine, Paul.
Yeah, we'll take that offline.
Okay.
Yeah, can we take that offline? We'll just get it done.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief. We can work
Well,
together
my
on
people
this.
speak to your people.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on. Thank you. Treasurer, anything else, Chris?
That's it. Thanks, Paul.
Oh, okay. Treasurer's report, please.
So I supplied you with the check register, $64,073.11. It also included a wire because on September 1, we had our interest due on the bond. So that was $37,000 of the $64,000. Right, so just leave it at that, please. I had a busy budget meeting.
Yes, you did, and thank you so much again, Robin, for preparing and making sure that we were prepared to plow right through it, and I believe the board did a great job with that. Secretary's report.
So I just need you to approve that check register that everyone got.
Oh, yeah, I entertain a motion on that.
Make a motion.
Second.
Treasurer.
All in favor?
Aye.
5 in favor.
But we're holding that one for the paper backup, the amalgamated, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, so we got through the check register, now to the secretary's report? Or do you want
I
to?
think the secretary has nothing to say.
I think the secretary has exhausted herself, and the chair and the entire board recognizes that. Thank you, along with the chief. Good job, Robin. Fantastic work today. I'll entertain a motion with respect to approving minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? 5 of us on that. And, I'm sorry, those are the regular minutes from August 12th of last month. Thank you. Committee reports, we'll start with myself. Purchasing, uniforms, turnout gear, and medical and physicals. I have nothing to report other than what the chief has briefed. No major purchasing items coming in from the department right now that we're aware of. Maybe something next month. We talked a few minor uniform items earlier, and then medical and physicals, you just covered that. So I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Frank, Technology,
Yeah, so
Engineering, Building.
Manny has done a good job setting up the server for us. I believe he's just about ready to cut it over into service, so that's good. As far as the site plans that were submitted by JMC to the Newcastle Building Department, they apologized for the delay, and they said that by next week they will start reviewing them.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Excellent. Commissioner Murphy.
All right, Johnson Control installed the new alarm box and panel. Scarsdale did the TVs, Manny adjusted it, but I'm still gonna get Scarsdale to come up and do their thing. The mason work for the building, I need to get the bid out. I was asking if you had any problems if I talked to JMC, if they had a list of anybody that I could send the bids to.
Well, do we have?
I only have one person.
Well, with respect to that, I'll ask the questions first up. Did we have an engineer look at the job and design the scope of work?
Well,
And-
yeah, I went around the building with Brian and took photographs, marked up all the photographs. We came to an agreement on what had to be done. I gave some specifications as to making sure that the mortar is compatible with the existing mortar. There was some sidewalk work in the back that needed to be fixed. And now it's just, you know, and I did provide at least one company I know of that.
That's still what I
Oh,
got.
well, then, you know, we have to have at least.
I gotta get a couple others.
Yeah, and send it out and get some bids on it. It doesn't need to be done.
Oh, no, it absolutely needs to be done. I'm just concerned that perhaps we need an engineer to look at the job first, to make sure that we're addressing it properly. If you're comfortable going forward,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with going forward.
Yeah.
I just need a couple of names, that's my
It's just
problem.
a matter of, you know, a bid document, you know, there might be some legal stuff involved with sending it out, you know.
I would encourage you then, this is just my view, I would reach out to our engineer and architect and just say, this is what we got, how do you think we should proceed? Is there a certain format in which we should be sending out the documents in terms of bidding? And do you have a short list of individuals who are qualified to do this type of work in government facilities?
Yeah,
I have a drop-in bid spec package, if you guys want to take advantage
that
of
would
it.
We would love to take advantage of
Yeah,
that.
so it's a bid notice, and then it's also bid instructions.
excellent. Yeah.
So what you could do is, I'll send it over to you,
Thank
and
you.
I'll send it to you in blank, and then all we have to do is put
Oh.
a title in and drop what we need to have done.
Perfect.
Excellent, no, that's perfect.
That's good.
And then you should authorize, so do you have an idea of what the value of the work is going to be?
Now,
No, we don't, it's important work.
It's throughout the whole building.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're assuming more than 20 grand?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I just want to, all right, so then we have to put a notice in the newspaper.
Sure.
So if you guys want to just authorize the notification, and then I'll work with Ed to prepare the notice and then the bid instructions.
That's perfect.
That's excellent.
That's literally what we should be doing moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then do we have enough time to open, I just need you to tell me when you would open the bid. Would it be at the next meeting or possibly the meeting after?
Oh, we wouldn't even know. We'll just keep you advised.
Well, I need to put it in the notice because you have to put it in the newspaper. So I would say-
We don't know yet, so,
It's September, you're talking October. Well, I mean, in November, that's gonna
yeah,
be tight.
yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
And I don't really wanna leave it till next year.
no, it
I
can't wait.
think
at
we'd
this
have to
point.
open it up the next meeting.
So, yeah, that would be great if you could send that to me. I'll send you the package that I put together.
Yeah, send me what you put together.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll-
drop it in and send it back to you, and then
Okay.
we'll get it in the newspaper as soon as
Excellent.
possible.
Excellent.
The notice is for the opening of the bids, right?
The notice is for that's right, it's the notice for the newspaper that says.
We will be opening these bids on
On
this
this
date.
date,
Got it.
and this is how you submit the bids.
Gotcha. Anything else, Brian?
Yep. Basement Solutions, they did that pump downstairs, did a beautiful job. I think the other pump pit overflowed, and the water ran back into the pit in the doorway and came back in. So I was gonna call him to come and see if we could maybe make that pit deeper and see what else we could do with the pit. And maybe, if we can, get a nice top on it like he did with the other pit, keep the dampness out.
Sounds like a great idea.
All right, and then I was gonna work on a stair lift again. And was gonna work on maybe just purchasing a message board this year. And then go from there. I only got one price.
Before you purchase the message board, can we just have a discussion amongst the board? That, I think that would be helpful for everybody. Thank you. Anything else, Commissioner Murphy?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Oh, and by the way, thanks for all the help. We do every Tuesday from like noon for a few hours. We do like office hours here, and Brian's down here all the time helping out. Thanks, Brian, for all that in recent month. Commissioner Smith, you're up.
Okay, kind of a long list of things here. As Paul was asking, Chief Admin was asking, Rescue 23 was responding to an alarm. It was driven through a rather deep puddle. It stalled out. We had to have it towed to the firehouse. The next day we had it towed up to our service shop. He's disassembled everything that he's needed to. He actually had it running today. He's drained everything. He's got a lot of electrical connections that are below the then water line that he's got to blow out. He's got to blow some conductive grease in there of some sort and make sure that the connections don't rot in the future. So he's got a little more work to do today, tomorrow, and he's, fingers crossed here, he's hoping to get it back to us Monday, maybe. So that's a good news. That's the good news.
Before you move on that, can we just make sure the total cost of the towing and the repairs are then, we look at an insurance claim. If we're not going to go insurance claim, well, it's insurance first, FEMA second. So we just need to figure out how we're going to get that paid for. If it's insurance, it's insurance.
The only bill I know of is $1,200 to tow it to Putnam County, and he said it was, I think, $175 to prepare the truck for towing. So those are the only two numbers I have right now.
All right, so
What about the
numbers
numbers
are
to
less
help?
important than the notice of claim. You can deny a claim if it's delayed.
yeah, so what would
We tell them we have a potential claim, we have this damage, we don't know what it'll cost yet,
Correct.
we're just letting you know this is coming down the road.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Figure it.
the costs could be as much as, say, $25,000. No big deal. We've got to get the claim and the costs to the insurance carrier as soon as we can to see what the deductible is going to be, see if we can claim. If we can't, then we go and we'll register and see if there's any state funds via FEMA to pay for it. And that's how we'll move on that, in my opinion, with the consent of the board, of course.
Two tow bills?
There's, the first tow was done to get the truck back to the firehouse.
Sure.
He just drove away. He didn't ask for names or anything.
Well, we
So
gotta
I don't-
pay him.
We don't know. We don't
So-
know. He hasn't, if it hasn't come in the mail yet, then we can call and see if he's going to submit
Yeah.
something.
So we need to,
Two
just...
tows and his service.
Right, and you know, just before you go on, just make sure that we get the costs, and Chris will investigate that, and then hopefully, you know, Rescue 23 is going to be fine for the future.
I'll put the claim in tomorrow.
There you go.
If I can get some numbers for you.
I don't need.
You don't need the numbers. No, we make the claim, we figure everything out later. Okay, great. Thanks for that update on that one.
Engine 144 went to our service center across the river to have an air valve replaced. It took a while to get the part. When he got it and started working on the truck, he realized that there was a flexible member in the exhaust system that was leaking. The exhaust gas was hot, as you can imagine, blowing on some electrical wiring harness, and it started to melt. So he thinks maybe next week he's going to get it back to us. He's not 100% sure. He's got the part now. It's a very long and complex process to get that piece out. It's up near the top of the engine someplace. So he's working on that diligently. He's got many trucks. He's doing 13 and 16-hour days. So he's really backed up, and he's having a hard time keeping up right now. So we're hoping to get that back in this coming week. Tower ladder 27 will be going out for further repair. It has a transmission issue. 2 separate drivers have complained about shifting, but we can't send that truck out until we get our other first duty trucks back. So once that comes in, it's going to go across the river. Yes.
Just a quick question, if Ruscon is that backed up, can we be a little more careful with when we bring the ladder over so it's not sitting there backed up behind other apparatus for an extended period of time?
Right. The issue right now with the ladder, from what the drivers have said, is that it is drivable.
I understand, yeah.
And he doesn't have the part, that there's another part from Cummins he's waiting for. So my goal is to have these other 2 trucks come back, and then when the part is in and he has the time and there's no backlog or
Right.
less of a backlog, then I'll work with you.
Yeah,
and
that coordination
Chief
would be key,
Absolutely.
just so we're not out of service.
Sure,
Thank
sure.
you.
By the way, the chief brings up a good point. I think that the chief should have a fairly large say and input with respect to these issues. I had a brief discussion with Chief Maitland, last week regarding this. So the chiefs need to work closely with Commissioner Smith on these issues. It's a matter of, it's an operational issue. In my opinion, that's...
Was he saying something was awry?
No, not at all.
Okay, because he and I communicate all the time about it.
No, but it's a good point to discuss.
Sure.
No, and I wouldn't
mean,
suggest...
We do have very strong communication with Commissioner Smith regarding the apparatus and all, and it was just, a lot of it is out of his control as well as it's out of our control, so we can just tighten it up with the 2 service providers that if there are parts that are needed, like for instance, if engine 144 was usable while they waited for these other parts to come in, could we bring engine 144 back, keep it in service, then when the parts arrive, great, boom, here you go, here it is, 24 hours later we get it back,
Yeah,
conceptually.
And the reason why I bring this up is for the sake of the residents of the district, that they can see that we're very thoughtful in how we are operating the equipment, getting the equipment repaired, out of service, into service. So not suggesting there was anything awry at all, but the residents of the district deserve to hear these discussions on occasion.
144 was over for service, and he didn't have the part. So it broke actually here in quarters. So they made a temporary fix, and we didn't send it over until he had the part. So we're doing that as best we can, when the parts arrive and when the chief's staff allows the truck to go out of service. Okay, so now some sort of good news. The utility truck that we were trying to buy came back to us again in very bad shape. I'll be real brief about this. It came back in real bad shape, and we said, no, we're not going to accept it. The dealership in Long Island said, okay, we'll take it back and sell it to somebody else. Fine. We're out from under it. We don't have to go to a permissive referendum to sell it or buy it, and we didn't make any deposits on it or down payments or anything like that. So we don't have anything to do with it anymore. I was texting back and forth with Chief Maitland today, and there is a chassis available in Albany that is not diesel, which is what the chief staff was initially looking for. It's gasoline, but it looks like, from what all I can tell, it looks like it's going to work for us if we go for it. Coincidentally, I'm going up past Albany this weekend, and I've made contact with this dealership to take a look at it on Saturday. So if that's acceptable to the board, I'll just take a look. I won't make any promises to buy it or anything like that. I'll certainly go to the right channels.
What I would say, and I would encourage perhaps discussion on this, I'd put this in the hands of the chief's staff. Is a gasoline motor acceptable to you guys? I know that you wanted a diesel.
Again, I wasn't part of the dialogue that the commissioner was having with Chief Maitland. If he's acquiesced that he's okay with gasoline, to me, the bigger issue is the cab size, the configuration of the
It's the needs and
bed.
requirements,
Yeah,
everything. Got it.
the gas part, okay, great, it's not ideal, but it's much lesser of an issue than we had with the size of the cab being not a crew cab, but an extended cab.
Because
things
where we
like
left
that.
it last time was we would put the needs and requirements back into the chief's staff.
Right. And I believe-
So if you guys are good with that, then
Yeah.
I mean,
the key is to, when you're there, just ask the question, what is the crew, let them tell you whether it's a crew cab or an extended.
I'm going to look at it.
Then that will, but I mean also too, because it does sound like semantics, but that 6-inch, 8-inch difference between an extended cab and a crew cab makes a big difference when
Sure.
you're in turn actor.
Sure.
You take your gear with you and shave you off the back.
yeah, there you go.
I think that's all I have right now. I don't have anything else in my report.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Weddle. Thank you. And then back to Commissioner Boyne, Commissioner Weddle, compliance policy review. I have nothing to report. And with respect to town liaison, 2 things. I did indicate earlier that I sent an email to the town administrator, Liz Shapiro, with respect to damage to the truck. If insurance covers it, we won't be going that route. If insurance does not cover, we may very well re-engage with Jill and see if she can add us to her list that she may claim up through Westchester County, New York State. In addition to that, we have invited our attorney, Michael Ngori, here, and he did reach out to Mount Kisco on an issue. We'll bring that up in a moment. So I have nothing to report further on those committees. So we're going to jump right into old business. I would ask that at this time, I would say we're probably all getting a little tired. We've been at this now for a while. So if we can give very short updates, informative short updates, short, sweet, to the point, on the old business items. First one up, Heather Feldman from Wise Oak Strategies.
Thank you, Commissioner. So for those at home, my name is Heather Feldman, and I'm a public project strategist with Wise Oak Strategies in Bedford. Newcastle Fire District number 1 hired me to help them with communications on an upcoming project, which is called Modernization and Consolidation of Fire Services. Talking with residents of Chappaqua, the first thing that most people ask is this project necessary? And we found the answer to that question, since the building has not been updated in nearly 50 years, is absolutely yes. This project is necessary. The second question that people ask is why? And actually, why is very straightforward. So our job is simply going to be to help you guys communicate effectively to the entire community from start to finish. And if we do that, then why will be evident. So the stakeholders in the project, 1, the Board of Fire Commissioners. You guys are charged with providing the means for fire and rescue services. That means the building, that means the equipment. So they have to plan deliberately and well and fiscally responsibly to provide the residents of this district with fire protection. The second stakeholder is the Chappaqua Fire Department, which is 100% volunteer. So not only do they provide the district with 24/7, 365 emergency coverage, but they do this, and this is a key point that everybody needs to know, they do this for free. So we will get back to that later, because a volunteer force is a very precious resource. And the largest stockholder in this project, of course, is the community, right? They rely on the fire department's protection, and people here can be confident that they call 911 and the firefighters come, and the firefighters take care of whatever their emergency is. Now, that kind of security is priceless, right? That's how people sleep at night. What many people in the community don't know is what the level of protection they enjoy here in Chappaqua actually entails. So what do people in the community need to know? Talking to people from different demographics here in Chappaqua, it's evident that the residents here feel connected to each other and to the community through the schools, through the houses of worship, through the business community. There are also large groups that are interested in education and in wellness, community service, and especially the environment. So all in all, Chappaqua has an inherent culture that understands the responsibility that one person has to his or her neighbor. So the feedback from people in all sectors here has been that we need to strive to reach everyone in the community with accurate and clear communications. Regarding first, the volunteer force is a precious resource. The extent of the CFD's service to this community, thousands and thousands of hours, both in emergency response and in training. The cost that the volunteers save the taxpayers runs into the millions of dollars per year. And since the 1970s, since the last time this building was updated, it's been documented that firefighters have a cancer rate of 5 times higher than the general public. And this is because of contaminants that are inherent to fighting fires, and this building cannot provide the decontamination facilities that your firefighters need. So they are bringing that home not only to themselves but to their families while they're trying to protect you. The call to action here is protect the people who protect you, and by the way, who protect you free of charge. The second part of the communication is, why do we need modernization? Why do we need to meet current industry standards in Chappaqua? So on the one hand, there are a lot of environmental protections that have come into play since the 1970s, notably the capture tanks that you have to put under new firehouses to capture runoff from the trucks, those contaminants that we talked about earlier. Right now, in old firehouses, those contaminants are washed off the trucks and go right into the water supply. That will be remedied with a new modern building. The space requirements for modern firefighting: larger equipment protects larger buildings. New technology cannot reduce the volume of water needed to fight a fire, and new technology cannot reduce the height of a ladder needed to fight a fire. So the call to action here is protect your community by giving the people who do this work for you the right workspace and the right tools. So what the public needs to know right now, and what we're all working on here together right now, is that we will be putting lots of information out. We will be putting it out via the district's website, social media, the print media, direct mailings, public events. We will be speaking to everybody soon.
Thank you very much, Heather. Heather's done a fine job over the past couple of months. We greatly appreciate it. Any questions for Heather as we move forward? Thank you. Northern Fire Protection Area, please introduce yourself, number one, and then give us an update on the Northern Fire Protection Area.
Hi, everybody. Michael Licori. I'm a partner at Hogan and Rossi. I'm counsel to the Newcastle Fire District on matters that are referred to us on your behalf. So I'm going to jump right into the Northern Fire Protection Area. So the district is billed an annual amount for by Mount Kisco in connection with services provided to the properties that are located in that area. We've been in this situation where those services have been provided year after year. And the question has been raised as to whether or not an appropriate amount of money is being spent on those services. One of the things that I was very interested in looking at was how does Mount Kisco arrive at the number that gets billed to us, and is there a discrepancy in that number between how they calculate their bills and how we assess in Newcastle? So the bill is generated very simply, which is the fire budget in Mount Kisco is created just like your fire budget is created here. They take their number per $1,000, their rate, and they apply it to the assessed valuation of the properties in that area. Where there's some inconsistency is whether or not their tax rate is different than your tax rate. And when there are differences between the tax rates, let's say their tax rate is higher than yours, I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying let's say that it is hypothetically, then you end up coming out of pocket from your budget to pay on behalf of those properties. So I believe that they are generating their figures correctly. I believe it's the same method of generation that we generate our figures for the areas that we cover under our contracts. So for example, let's say you guys go out to bond to buy apparatus or a new firehouse, your tax rate is going to be much different, be higher, and that higher cost would be passed along our rate that we would then use to the properties that we provide service to that are, let's say, not in the Newcastle Fire District but in some other fire protection district. We would take those figures and do the same thing to them as a pass-through. So there is a question. You guys were heading down a path last year, Terry, I know you were, which was questioning whether or not a zone was created for those properties so that they can be assessed and taxed at the Mount Kisco rate. And that's something that I'm going to track down and confirm. I believe that the town may have done that in the past and for some reason may have gotten away from applying those numbers to those properties. The reason why I think that is because there appears to be references to zones that are currently there, right? There wouldn't be a reference to it if it didn't exist.
Correct.
So if we can rectify that, then any of the controversy that goes along with this northern fire protection area should seemingly then go away, because then those properties are paying the actual rate that they should be paying. We then would not be, in the situation where if their rate was higher than ours, we would not be coming out of our budget to make up that discrepancy. It is entirely possible that our rate is higher than theirs, so we might be collecting more than we're paying out, which is also a possibility. I just haven't sat down with the assessor and actually crunched the numbers, but I will do that. That's my plan. I spoke to Ed Brancotti, who is the manager in the village of Mount Kisco, to analyze how they've come up with their numbers. He's laid this out in his prior letter to former Commissioner Nicolaisen, and that's remained consistent. And I think it's the correct way to do it. I think that's what we would do when we're billing for service somewhere else. We would do the same thing. I think that's what's equitable, because that's the cost for delivery of service. So I will continue to, I'll go set up a meeting with our assessor, see if in fact, I may have to go through the town clerk's minutes to see if the town board may have taken some action to create a zone. If it hasn't, we should do that. And that way the mechanism is in place so that these properties are being charged the correct amount, and whatever we're budgeting or whatever they're budgeting is allocated correctly and is not impacting your budget negatively.
Well, thank you for assisting. If I could, I'll also offer myself, as I'm a town liaison rep, and Brian Murphy has found a ton of information with respect to historical documentation regarding the Northern Fire Protection Zone. Chris as well has had some great observations on this issue. But I lastly just want to say one thing. I could not last year put a dollar amount on someone's house or life, and that's why we continued the service. And I believe we should be continuing the contract with Mount Kisco until we get to the bottom of it. And that's what the majority of the board decided last year. So if there is a controversy with regard to that, I don't know where it lies. What I do know is that I've kept it on the agenda since last November, and we're getting closer to an answer. I did see the reference myself to Northern Fire Protection Zone in Mount Kisco's documents, so that's very curious to me.
And if the commissioners are in receipt of any documentation, just send it over to me, because it'll save me the time of having to go dig it dig for
We
it
do have
myself.
some historical data that we
Yeah.
will get to. The
Okay.
original documents that go back many years, right, Brian?
Yeah, it went back, I
Yeah.
think, to 59. I think.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
this
interesting.
But this isn't a
One
new subject.
question, is the town is already in contract with Kisco for other sections of Kisco. How are they taxed?
I'll find that out. Yeah, because
And why couldn't we take this section and just tell the town, why go through us? Why don't you just pay them? I mean, you're paying Kisco now.
That's what's happening between us and Kisco.
right, understood.
Yeah.
You're paying Kisco now, why?
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, if there's a more efficient method of doing this, then whatever that is, we should all be doing it.
Yes.
I mean, because they collect the taxes, and if they're collecting the taxes, then they can write the check.
Why not just, understood.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to be coming back to you in a moment. Old business, the siren and public address system still on the agenda. It will remain there as long as I sit in this chair, because it's a very important issue, and there's several different individuals and interested parties trying to look for a solution to the use of and the frequency of use of the siren. Oak Lane, please, quick update on Oak Lane. Any change?
Okay, there's no change. Lynn has sent a document that they want Oak Lane to sign. It's, holds us harmless kind of thing. So that's where we're at with that.
And just for the residents looking in on the meeting, and Lynn, who's here, Oak Lane is an issue that's been going on now for quite some time, and the Oak Lane folks, they're neighbors of ours, and I think we've been very, very kind with them to date, and we just want to bring this issue to an end. Continuing forward, we did talk about the firehouse exterior masonry and window lintels issue. We need to take that for action. I'm just going to run through these items. Jump in, anyone, if you want to comment or discuss. Community Day Farmers Market. There's a couple of the commissioners who believe we need to pull back on this a wee bit, maybe a couple of weeks. I'll talk to Heather about it. It's an issue of making sure we have the required information before we set foot outside and start answering questions. We're almost there. It's been a long summer, and we're almost there. But I will be going to the farmers market, not this weekend, next weekend. Community Day, I don't know if we're going to be there. I just don't know. So we'll discuss that during the week. We did. I'll talk to Robin about perhaps, if we do cancel it like early next week, we'll see if we can get that $100 refunded. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for reminding me. Can you just put that down, Robin, for a thing to do next Monday or whatever? New business. Again, I'm going to try to run through this a little quickly because I know I'm getting a little tired, but we have to get through this appropriately. So, Mount Pleasant Fire Protection contracts.
So I looked at the contract and the contract form. These are proposed as 5-year contracts. Robin had reviewed them before I did. She sent them over to me and had noted the one major issue, which is it's okay to contract for 5 years, but the amount there has to be a provision in the contract that effectively adjusts the amount to reflect your tax rate as you know, so that those properties are being billed correctly. So right now, you know, it wouldn't be advisable to agree to accept the same amount over 5 years when it's entirely possible your costs will change. So as long as the costs change along with the contract, it's okay for us to be in a 5-year contract. It saves us the trouble of having to adopt resolutions every year for a document that's in okay shape.
Was the change to 5 year their idea or our
No, it was their idea.
idea.
Yeah.
And if I was in their position, I would have done that too. If they could have gotten a 5-year contract back from us with no provision, particularly in light of what may happen here in the district in the future, that would have been very advantageous to them. So, but nice catch, and now it's in the hands of Mike and anyone else who wants to review it.
Robin, are those amounts changing from year to year?
Yes, they changed by portion of the tax cap, the growth rate.
And that
But it doesn't change based
tax
on...
cap went into, the 2% went into effect in 2012, right? Anybody?
I would say around then.
Around
Yeah.
So,
But that tax cap rate, you know, that can't be the cap, because if you go out to bond and your budget exceeds the tax cap, then they are getting the benefit of service at a lesser rate than your own residents. And that would be inequitable.
yes.
So we need to make sure that the contract parries what you do financially.
Well, except that they would not have voted on the increase in the rate to support the bond.
No, but
There are taxpayers who are now paying a higher rate and get an opportunity to vote on whether or not to pay a higher rate.
right, but they are also
That
being
doesn't
serviced
seem
by
equitable.
us.
No, I understand.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Good to go, Mike, on
Yeah,
that one?
on that one.
Thank you. Next one up, Chris, I think this is for you, LoSAP.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you want to do.
Okay, so, as you know, legislation with respect to LoSAP changed last year, correct? So we have,
In what way?
so we have the opportunity to increase contribution and also authorize increasing length of service increases. So would you like to address that quickly for us?
Just that, well, just to reflect the amendment that permitted the increased amount. So you can now have a length of service award program that, and I'm blanking here as the total, as to the, excuse me, the total amount. I think previously it was $800 a month, and now I think it's over 1,000.
No, it's 50 years.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
So it was $20 a month per year of service, up to 4 years of service, or $800 a month, yeah. So now we can make it up that to 1,000. Do we do that by increasing the length, the number of years? In other words, instead of 40 years, it's 50 for 50 years of service? Or do we do that by increasing the $20 a month per year of service, or how does it work?
Well, so just tell me how your current plan,
Right.
I haven't seen what your current plan caps are.
The current plan says that after 5 years of making your 50 points in the LoSAP system, you are then entitled to earn retirement benefits that pay at a rate of $20 per month for every year of service. So in other words, if you have 10 years of service, presumably you get $200 that month.
So
That is-
what's your total, 30?
Well, it varies from
It's 40. Okay.
Yeah, so you have a total of 40 years of eligible years.
Okay.
Which caps out the maximum benefit you can receive is $800 a month.
Okay,
Which almost nobody gets, but, you know.
So now that the legislature has authorized fire districts, if they go out to referendum and change their LoSAP
Correct.
plans, to increase that should they desire to do it.
And increase the years of service to 50. So it's a two-prong change in the law. I'm not an attorney.
So it's 50, so you can have up to 50 eligible years of service instead of 40.
That's what I believe,
But it's the
yes.
same $20 a month, it's just more months.
That's what I had to do.
And the max goes from 800 to,
1,200.
1,200.
I believe, in incremental,
Thank you.
you can do incremental steps.
thank you.
The
So,
the problem with that is,
You
with-
don't think it's possible?
I think it's 1,000.
but I mean, regardless, the problem is when we fund our LoSAP payments annually, based on their actuarial tables, they operate under the assumption that every firefighter on the roster will continue on the roster until they reach their eligibility, which I believe is 65. So we are, from a strictly, and that money is sitting there, we're not getting dividends on that. We're just tucking money aside that likely will never be used, which is why, as I mentioned, we are funded at 79%. Or at least we were funded at 79% at the beginning of this year. I don't know
Yeah, it
where
just
we are
depends
now.
on the market where
Right.
your funding rate ends at, but.
Yeah, you'd be insane to fund it 100% because you're not going to get close to that.
Right, if you fund it 100%, the assumption is everybody retires the
Right.
same day.
And receives $800 a
And
month
receives
each.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if
So I think the question for you guys, if you really want to have a thoughtful discussion about it, is you have your provider come and bring you some actual data about members that reach the end of those years. Are there many of them? Because if there aren't many of them, then you don't need to go to, if you've had 100 members and only 5 have reached 40 years
Right.
of service, then for you to make everybody, for you to increase everyone's ability to go from 40 to 50 years and then have to pay for it when it's not a percentage,
It's
a
not-
great percentage reality,
Agreed.
all it will do is eat up your fire budget.
I mean, I've done 3 LoSAP claims retirements in the past 2 months. The highest, I think, was $300 a month, which is why I mentioned earlier, it might make more sense to max out our limitations under 205, the general municipal
Yeah,
on the
general.
on the cancer. And
That's right.
Go up to the $50,000 max. Right now, we're at the 25, so we're at the minimum. That might be of more benefit, especially to a 30-year-old kid, well, to me, kid, 30-year-old member who gets cancer, and, $25,000 is going to eat up his first, treatment,
absolutely.
Anyway,
So,
I'll ask, it's not Guyan, it's,
The-
BFIS?
Yes.
Yeah, so,
But Diane will reach out to them, and they'll do some
I
scenarios.
no, I know who it is. I know
And
who it
only
is.
you can reach out because you're the rep on.
Administrator.
Yeah, the
Right.
administrator.
But they can provide you the data, then you
Yeah.
guys can
No,
have
they're happy to
a
come and
thoughtful
talk a
discussion.
little more about
Well,
that.
not only that, but I think the chief should weigh in on this too. He had some great points regarding this entire program. I wanted to put it on the agenda because it's very important. It was, the legislation changed last year. It took us, I think, too long to address it now, in my humble opinion, but this was good conversation. We should continue talking about it until such time as the board decides what they're going to do with it, because then if there is a change, we have to go out for a public referendum.
Right, and the length of service just changed within the past 2 weeks.
Yes,
That
so,
legislation.
thank you.
Yeah.
Length of service changed, but the contributions changed last year.
Right,
That's
and
what it
it
was.
is 1,200.
Okay, 1,200. All right, we'll move on. Legislation authorizing remote meetings. The new governor of the state of New York authorized, you want to talk about that, please? I think that's important.
You guys have the option to go back to Zoom if you desire.
She changed the public meetings law, or is it an emergency,
No.
is it an emergency order, or
It's, I believe, a new executive order.
new executive order?
Yeah, which would permit you to go back to Zoom with the anticipating a potential increase either through Delta variant or schools starting back up, just more interaction with each other in general.
Right, so there was no legislative action.
Yeah, so this is,
No, she signed legislation. Yeah, it was.
So the-
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
So-
so it
so-
doesn't matter what the form is, but at the end of the day, you have that ability.
Well, well, because I mean, Executive Order 202 expired at the end of July.
Well,
This is-
but this expires in I believe in January.
Yeah.
So to me, it's really no difference whether it's the act of legislature or executive order, there's an expiration date on it.
So the point is, it authorizes remote meetings. However, it doesn't mandate it. And that's the key thing here. It's up to the consensus of the board how they want to move forward. I would prefer to have live meetings here in the public. That's my preference. However, I'm not calling for both. We should just,
Do we know if this is an either or? Do you have to do one or the other, or can you do a hybrid?
We don't have the ability to do a hybrid
That's-
here right now. We don't have the equipment, but you can do a
You
hybrid.
can do-
You can have some commissioners in person, some commissioners at home, some public here, some public at home.
Well, if you have commissioners at home, then you have a Zoom meeting. People could be here,
But they're gonna be on Zoom.
that's right.
Yeah, sure.
so it's just something that, again, new business, it's on the agenda, we need to discuss it, because if we do go south, the health issue here in the state again, we may have to. So let's just be aware, let's have a plan, perhaps, to, I'd much rather not, but however, if we're forced to, for health purposes, I fully support that as well. Next item on new business is election inspectors. We're looking for election inspectors. We have an election coming up, our annual election's coming up. I'll reach out to an individual who helped last time, and if anyone has any ideas or individual who would like to volunteer, it's a very, very important day.
Ask John Russell.
Yeah, John Russell's
Definitely
fantastic.
John Russell.
Right, and the
And,
last day to approve them is our meeting date, so we have to have that action.
Oh, yes, thank you. That's why it was on. So we need our inspectors by when?
October 14th is the
Oc-
last day on the agenda.
October 14th. And last year, we didn't meet that goal, did we?
No.
Yeah, we didn't. In fact, there are a lot of things. But we're meeting everything this year. All right, next item. There will be a meeting conducted between the architect, the chief staff, 2 board members, Wise Oak Strategies, to discuss requirements, phasing, and costs associated with the modernization consolidation program, our project, I should say, in the very near future. It's an absolute needed meeting, and we look forward to getting it done because we've been in the data collecting mode now for several months, and this is kind of coming down to the end there. Having said that, any comments on those new business items? So we'll move all these new business items to old business for next month. Public comment. Welcome, Ms. Lambert. We'll give you a little time. Try to keep it in and around 3 minutes. It's not our job here tonight to answer any of your questions, but to just listen to your comments and consider anything you may have to say.
I just have a point of information about one of the reports, actually. I was wondering, since we have a volunteer fire department, when we value the cost of providing service to another area, how do we calculate the free manpower? Is there a dollar amount attached to that in some way, sort of straw man way? Because I'm sure if we go to Mount Kisco as an example that has a paid fire force, the cost of them providing services to us includes the cost of the firefighters themselves. So I was just wondering how that works.
I think the board will take that question for consideration, and if we want to address it, would we like to address it here and now?
When did Mount Kisco become a paid department?
Kisco's not paid.
They're not out?
Nope.
I thought they were. So when the one that is, I just wonder how it's valued when it's volunteer work. Because it certainly has a value. So it's just like a point of information, just curious.
Thank you. Thank you. Having said that, I'll talk about, anything else, Lynn?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's good seeing you. Haven't seen you in a while. Anything other? Okay, moving on to future dates. There will be a special meeting September 23rd, 2021, at 7 p.m. to adopt our proposed budget. We have indicated there's a few other items we got to work on between now and then. The next regular meeting is scheduled for October 14th, 2021 at 7 p.m. This location, 491 King Street, Chapel, New York. I will entertain a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.